Welcome to the tutorial. Let's start by talking about the vibe of the campaign and what you can expect. The world we're going into has a Ridley Scott's Alien sort of vibe, but not so unrelentingly spooky. It's somewhat industrial science fiction, so no sleek consoles or FTL, but just good old blue-collar workers in space. Humanity is spacefaring, but is limited to within the solar system. A trip across the system takes weeks to over a month. There are civilian cities on the Moon and Mars, and the relay station on Jupiter and everything beyond is corporate-owned and dedicated to heavy industry or research. These corporations are hugely powerful and collectively wield far more power than any government. Isn't escapist fantasy grand? We're talking about a sci-fi world where fusion power is commonplace, but nanobots aren't. There are AIs and robots, but they're mostly human personalities with a computer's memory and processing to back them up, rather than post-singularity AGIs. Moving on to the roleplay side of things, we talked about having a slightly longer campaign with the possibility of character growth or arcs. To this end, you're going to have to do a little more of the heavy lifting. I'm going to be trying to give your characters more time to talk amongst themselves, and also one-on-one time. We'll try to do some things that make this easier and not make anyone feel put on the spot, especially for crucial moments. The first thing is to have the 3 character aspects filled out in your character sheet. These are strength, flaw, and incorrect belief. The incorrect belief is what your character wrongly believes about the world, but is an opportunity for change or growth. This could be, I don't need help from anyone, the company has my best interests at heart, I am not capable, or anything else you'd like to explore. This information will help me give you opportunities to share or talk about the subject, and also give you advanced warning if a big character moment is coming up. I might also suggest taking it a little easy on your choice of voice and mannerisms. If you're going to be having more conversations and trying for more improv, not trying to maintain an accent through the whole thing might mean you've got a wee bit more brain power freed up for the speaking side. 'Tis just a thought though. Now, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the system. This is a refresher, and we'll recreate the character from the example that we did in person. As a reminder, success and failure in this system are dead simple. Everything is determined by rolling a 6-sided dice, and if you get a 6, that's a success. Everything else goes into determining how many dice you get to roll. We'll start with the 4 basic attributes: strength, agility, wit, and empathy. You start with 2 in each, which means rolling a check would be done with 2 dice. You want to lift something heavy, roll 2 dice. The first step is to put an additional 6 attribute points into these 4 categories. You add these points under the Character Added field, which will automatically keep track of your total and remaining points. You can invest attribute points up to a maximum total of 6. An attribute also can't go below the minimum of 2. We said that our character had 6 strength, 4 agility, 2 wit, and 2 empathy. A real powerhouse. Let's say that this character wants to pull open an automatic door with their hands. They're going to roll a strength check, and since they have 6 strength, they'll roll 6 dice. Great, unsurprisingly a success. Let's move on to the way that skills work. They're essentially like proficiencies in D&D in that they grant added bonuses to tasks that are more niche versions of the attribute above. Up here, you can see that you start with a pool of 10 skill points. 2 of your skills can have up to 3 points assigned to them, as long as the corresponding attribute is 4 or higher. The rest can have up to 2. We had said that our character was a bodyguard, so we'll put 3 into close combat and ranged weapons, and we can do this because their strength attribute is 4 or higher. We have 4 remaining points, and we'll divide that between survival getting 2 and command getting 2. Let's say that instead of opening the door themselves, this character wants to command someone else to do that. They would roll 2 dice for their command skill bonus, and then 2 dice for their empathy. The 4 dice roll and, oh no, they've failed. The final step of character creation is to pick 2 special abilities that I've listed below. They're unique and potentially very unbalanced. If you want to have your character have some kind of flavor that you don't see reflected on this list, let me know and we'll make something up. Cool, we've got our character, and there are a few more mechanics to cover. The first is the ability to push a roll. In the case of our bodyguard, maybe they really needed that command to work. What they can do is push the roll, which means they re-roll all the dice. The other part of the re-roll is that they take a point of stress. This extra stress means their adrenaline is running hot and actually gives them a better chance of succeeding. You get to roll an additional stress dice on all of your rolls now. Now look at that, the second time's a charm and our character succeeded. Stress isn't all awesome, however. Without taking the time to relax and get rid of it, it will accumulate. Our bodyguard has been getting progressively more stressed over the course of the last hour. They've pushed themselves too far, fired an automatic weapon they weren't proficient with, got stabbed, and saw some disturbing shit. That's 4 points of stress, which is awesome because it's an extra 4 dice on every roll. The downside is that if one of those dice ever rolls a 1, they're going to panic. Panicking is a 2-step process. First, they automatically fail whatever they were attempting to do, regardless of how many 6s they have. Then, they have to roll a single d6. They add the number they get to the number of stress levels they have, and that total number determines the outcome. Higher is worse, and it goes from needing to take a few deep breaths and keep going, all the way to screaming and running. With all of these dice being rolled, you can get quite a handful going at any one time. You can see over in the probability tables that there's a 14% bump in your chance of success when moving from 1 dice to 2, but only a 2% bump when moving from a 12 to a 13. So why would you want to invest the skills necessary to get your attributes to 6 and your skills to 3 if 9 dice see such a diminishing set of returns? Well, there's 2 reasons. The first is that if you roll a check for a skill that you have a base level of 9 in, you are unaffected by panic. This is your expertise and you do not freak out. The second reason is noted in the other column of the probability chart. You can see that there's a column for 3 successes, and it has increasing return the more dice are involved. The reason this column exists is for stunting. If you roll 3 successes, not only do you succeed, but you can succeed in a way that does even better than what you were planning, or at least looks really fucking sick. When building your character, you have the option of doing several things really well, or one thing fantastically. And that's the system. You can look at Sheet 2 for examples on how a single archetype can be specced out differently depending on the subclass. If there's anything you don't see that you'd like to, or if there's anything that doesn't make sense, let me know. I'm looking forward to figuring this whole thing out with y'all.